Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Easy Parallax tutorial video series. In this video we'll be covering parallax speed scalars as well as some of the other properties that we haven't touched on yet in the other videos. So we'll start off by just looking at our scene and the current state that it's in. We have this moving fog from part 4 and we have all of these things in the background parallaxing properly. There's some nice depth there. But let's see what happens when we play with the parallax speed scalar x. So if we were to take this and change this to 0.1, let's say, and then look, it looks very flat, almost like the parallax speed scalar, or almost like the parallax effect wasn't on at all. If you look closely, you can see like there's this distance between this midground tree and that far background tree does grow. So there is a parallax effect going on, but it's very subtle. These speed scalars, so these ones listed right here in the main part of the Easy Parallax Inspector, these affect how much the parallaxing effect is applied to the entire set of parallaxing elements. So that speed scalar, when I set it to 0.1, it's very close to 0, so close to almost no parallax effect whatsoever. So that's how that works, and y is the same thing. You can use this if you'd like to give your scene a little more of a flat look, like maybe your game has more of like a storybook appearance or something like that, and you really want it to look flat. So maybe if we still have a little bit of a parallaxing effect, but a little more flatness, you know, let's say 0.4 here. We've kind of flattened out our scene a bit here. So you can do things like that. Also, in addition to that, any object that you have added to your parallaxing elements manually here on the list, you can actually go in and set private speed scalars for their x and y. So you can take certain objects and have them have less of a parallaxing effect just on the individual objects. These are in there so that you can tweak this to your heart's content and really get the scene moving in the way that you would like it to. Generally, you shouldn't need to touch these. The parallax effect, you know, obviously works well the way it's set up by default. But if you do want to, these are there. So feel free to do that. Moving on, we have this random offset history size. Most of you guys shouldn't actually have to work with this at all. What this is the number of object distances that it's going to save for randomly spawned objects. So it's actually saving the positions of each of these things that it's randomly spawning, so that once you get far enough and you turn around, it still remembers those positions. Obviously 300 is a pretty good number, especially when we're looking at things as big as and as spread out as these rocks and these trees. No one's going to notice a pattern forming every 300 some objects. But let's say if you had a bunch of tiny objects, like, I don't know, thousands of flowers that were spreading across your scene, you may start to notice a pattern looping every 300. So if you see that happening, you can come in here and actually change this offset history size to be a larger number. So keep that in mind if you see that happening in your scene. Most likely you're not going to have to touch that, but just like I said, keep it in mind. Moving forward, we have this enable Dolly zoom checkbox here. So to explain the Dolly zoom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our camera here. I'm going to change, actually let's find a good spot to set up here. I'm going to change the orthographic camera size here so we can see. Right now it's set to 6. I'm going to drop down to 5, 4, 3. Notice how the stuff that's in the far, like in the background, doesn't change very much in size, but stuff in the foreground does. That is Easy Parallax's Dolly zoom in effect there. But I'll go ahead and give you, I guess, points to compare against here. So if we were to turn the Dolly zoom off, so if we come back here, disable it, start doing the same thing, as you can see, we have a very flat movement. This is just a flat, regular zoom. So it's not like the camera's moving, it's just like the camera is zooming. And you generally get a much more cinematic effect when you are using the dolly zoom. So it's good to enable and to use, but you don't have to. This obviously can be accessed from script and turned on and off. So if while your game is running, at some points you want a true zoom and at other points you would rather have the dolly zoom, you can switch back and forth. That's perfectly acceptable. And the last property we have here is our auto initialize toggle right here. Most of you are probably going to want to leave this on. The people who would want to turn it off are people who wouldn't want Easy Parallax to start up right when the scene is loaded. So if you have a player that you can't assign in the inspector, or a camera that you can't assign in the inspector, or maybe there are objects that aren't actually in the scene that you'll be creating from script and you'll need to add those to Easy Parallax, you can do that by unchecking auto initialize, and then set up your scene the way you need to, and then automatically call, or not automatically, but manually call the initialize function on Easy Parallax from your script. And that's the only case where you'd want to uncheck auto initialize. So I believe that this wraps up all of our properties that we are covering here in this video, and also wraps up the tutorial videos in general. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoy using Easy Parallax and that it saves you a lot of time. If you have any more issues or suggestions, feel free to email me at timefloatunity@gmail.com. And happy developing. See you guys later.